So, Gilgamesh. This is one of the oldest stories we still have. This is very, 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 very old, and we only have it in gaps. They found clay tablets that are in fragments. There's lots of fragments missing. People are kind of guessing what would go in between. So while the story and those fragments are considered archaeologically really, really precious because it's a story from so old, um, there's a bunch of guesswork in any translation. And I think that's very much true with the translation I'm giving you. I like it because it has this feel that, it sort of smells authentic to me. But I could be wrong. If one of you goes on and gets a PhD in Near Eastern studies and then you can write me an email saying, Dr. Frankel, you were full of crap about Gilgamesh. That translation wasn't faithful at all. Then I will take correction. But I think it hangs together, and you need it to hang together. I think if I just made you guys read fragments, you'd go nuts. And I think what matters in terms of what I really want from this course is that you get kind of a whiff of these cultures, that they kind of lodge in a way that makes some sort of human sense to you, even if it's only in glimpses and even if it's only in parts. So, and I feel like this reading does it kind of fills in a blank that's worth filling in. Okay, so I'm thinking, questions that would probably occur to you as you read. First of all, like, what's with all the names? I mean, first thing people ask me in panic before the quiz, am I supposed to remember all those names? Am I supposed to remember Enlil and Ea and glorious Shamash and Anu and Ninsun? And the answer is no. The short answer is no. These names are basically Middle Eastern gods from pagan times. And the way paganism works is that little groups, little clans or tribes have their own gods that they pray to and they beg for help from and they take as their protector and they build little statues of and they offer offerings to and things like that. And so each little group has its own gods. And as the groups spread, as they get bigger, the gods spread. And sometimes the gods sort of collide with each other the same way the little tribal groups collide with each other. And sometimes they merge. So paganism is layers and layers and layers of local gods kind of thrown into a salad bowl together, or perhaps a melting pot. Okay, so that's why there's so many gods in this. What matters most to me, there are a couple of gods who become like significant characters, like Ishtar is the most obvious example. Ishtar has a distinct personality, and Gilgamesh interacts with her the way two major characters in a story interact. So it's good if you remember Ishtar. It's good if you remember names that actually become characters. But what matters most to me about it is actually the sense of the personality of the gods in general, not of specific gods so much, but of the gods, the way these people related to the gods is, I think, particularly interesting about them. Because I'll give you a little hint, it feels pretty different from the way we relate to our gods, right? These gods seem pretty different than God does to you if you're a Christian or a Jew or a Muslim or a Buddhist or even a Hindu. And Hindu will come a little closest, but Hindu will be different as well. Okay? Anyway, so don't worry about the names too much. Just that sense of what the gods are like is important. What's with all the repetition is the next question that kind of occurs to me. This is a feature of sagas or epics from the oral tradition, whatever oral tradition. You find it in the Iliad and the Odyssey. You find it in all kinds of ancient epics that nobody quite knows who wrote, and that what the repetitions are is a sign that this started out before people could read and write. This was recited, memorized and recited for the entertainment of an audience that would pay. If you're a bard trying to make a living with this stuff, and as I say, we see it in the Iliad and the Odyssey as well, what they call the epithets, these phrases that keep coming back, especially about characters. it becomes a way to keep things straight. It's also if I'm up there improvising on a harp or something, and I'm singing a ballad, I'm singing a story to a bunch of you know people who are kind of drunk and rowdy. This is how I can keep my place. Repetition helps me the same way choruses repeat in a song, right? We like repetition when we're listening to songs. We like the chorus to come back and oh yeah, this one again, and but it means more this time because when it's coming back in the story. Well, that's probably the way to think about the repetitions in this saga. That they're musical, and you find it throughout the oral tradition. Undoubtedly, the biggest reason it was that it was a convenience for the author because they could keep track of stuff and didn't have to keep coming up with new words for everything, but also because probably since it was done in this musical way, probably the audience liked it. The same we like choruses of songs. You can join in on the chorus. You can sing along too. I don't know if people sang along when they were listening to Gilgamesh, but it's there. That there's the return of the familiar has a certain satisfaction for people. Okay, maybe the next thing for me to discuss, which could very well be an obstacle for you as you read, is the question of are we supposed to like this guy? Gilgamesh, he's talked about as being such a great man, such a big hero, such a big this, such a big that, big being perhaps the operative adjective. Are we supposed to like him? Because it's not obvious that we do. He seems like kind of a jerk. He's a bigger jerk at the beginning of the story than at the end, so that matters. We talk about character arcs. The way a character changes in the course of a story often gives a story its sense of meaning. But still, even as he changes, it's not obvious that this is a hero we will take to our hearts. And I would urge you to think about that. To think about if you have that feeling, and I'd be surprised actually if you didn't, but if you have that feeling, what's the difference between Gilgamesh and a hero that's easy for you to take to your heart? And you can think about Marvel comic book movie characters too, because he's sort of one of those, right? He's sort of a superhero. This is, one sense, a big superhero story. Gilgamesh and Enkidu are both superheroes, and they gang up and fight supervillains, right? Or super antagonists. So that's probably a good way to think about it. The people that this epic came out of think of Gilgamesh as a hero, as someone to look up to. We might feel considerably more ambivalent about him. But that helps you think about what those people valued versus what we value. What those people saw a hero as being like and what we see a hero as being like. That is worth your thinking about. And one of the reasons I wanted you to read this, because one way to get to know a culture is to get to know what it thinks a hero is.